Greetings and welcome to Elisio's diecast videos. Today we are filming outside, and so that's why you will probably hear to some ambient noises like birds and maybe my cats. And we're going to have a closer look at the latest Kyosho release, Ferrari Collection 12. And so we're going to go through each model, not each color, but each model in this set, and how it compares to previously acquired Ferrari set, this time from 7-Eleven, and some of them, their cars here. So let's start with the Laferrari. Here it is. So this is not the first appearance in the Kyosho line for the Laferrari, but it's a welcome return, as the original release is quite expensive to get, and it's a very cool car anyway. Way better than the Hot Wheels version, even though the Hot Wheels version is kind of cool. Nice details all around. That kind of side mirrors would be impossible for Hot Wheels because they would break easily. So now these have been assembled, and I'm happy to report that all of them, at least all the ones I got, roll pretty well. Like there's no problem. It will not be a winner on the track, but it rolls, and that's a good thing. So here's for the Laferrari in red, always good. The next one is the 458 Italia Gt2, another one in red. Pretty cool looking car. I already had one from a previous release in yellow. Actually, I should have gotten that one to compare the castings, see if there was any changes between the two releases, because sometimes that's something that Kyosho does. Earlier releases are less detailed or different from the new releases. Nice engine bay here. So right off the bat, one of the difference between the Kyoshos, at least for the Minicar Collection, we're not talking about the original series or the Beat series, that one has more detail and is more expensive also, is that compared to the 7-Eleven, the 7-Eleven usually has painted engines and also painted details on the inside, which is not the case with the Kyoshos, but that's okay because everything else is on point. Okay, look at that. Oh, sorry. Look at that tiny logo here. Always plastic lenses for both front and back. No painted details as such. And that's something I really like about it. So that's car number 2. Car number 3 is the 458 Speciale. And I kept the white one because I think it looks phenomenal. Yes, the red one is cool, and it's the iconic Ferrari color, but this combo of blue and white for me is the perfect combination. Very, very nice. There's also a black one, and that one just looks sick, but I wasn't lucky. I didn't get that one in my box. So here's the Kyosho version, and we are going to do a direct comparison with the 7-Eleven version in yellow. So in terms of size, scale is approximately the same. So as I was saying, as you can see here, the engine is painted on the 7-Eleven release and not on the Kyosho, but everything else seems to be on the same level. Nice details everywhere. Yeah, it's the 7-Eleven release was very, very cool, and also they have some things that the Kyosho doesn't always have, is those tiny details in the headlights, and that's a very nice touch. So I don't know. I guess the Kyosho release are easier to get. And globally, I also prefer the wheels on the Kyoshos compared to the ones on the 711, because the ones on 711 doesn't always work or are less detailed. But as I've said in my previous review of this set, it's a very, very nice set with a lot of very, very nice cars. And oh, this is the wrong one. You go here, my friend. Okay, so direct comparison right now, we'll say 711 wins by a tiny, tiny, tiny margin. Next on the list, the California T, making a return with this very cool red color. There was two reds in this release, a more flat, normal looking red, and this one, metallic. And this one is the best of the two. Very nicely done. And we have here a California T2, but this one without the top. So let's see if they compare. Yeah, it seems to be on the same level. The wheels, they're okay. They're okay. Maybe a little bit too. I don't know. There's something about the wheels on this 711 release that they just don't work for me. I'm not quite sure. Big bonus for the colored interior, two-tone colored. But other than that, I would say I prefer the color on this one and the metallic aspect of it. But it's, once again, you can't go wrong with the 711. It's one of the nicest releases out there. So that's for car number 4. Car number 5, it's another 458 Speciale, but this one is the top-down version, or the what is it, Spider? And a very cool car. So basically it's the same as the normal, except for some detail on the front here, this added detail here, and the completely reworked back here. Does that make it a different car? I guess if you live in California or somewhere in Dubai, this is probably the best option. Although one could argue that without AC, you're probably going to die in these cars. But yeah, very, very nice. Next one, 488 GTB in yellow. Focus, please. Thank you. And we can compare it to the 711 release right there. So what do we have here? So once again, some added detail on the taillights. The interior seems to be more detailed somehow. There are some detail here that are absent here. I would say the side vents look better on the Kyosho release. But, and that's another huge difference, the engine bay is definitely a clear winner here, with more detail painted. This one looks a bit dull, and that's too bad because everything else, yeah. So I guess on that direct comparison, the 711 wins again by a small margin. Okay, next car number 7, the 599XX Evo. So Kyosho already released the 599XX before. I don't happen to have that version. The Evo is the well, the 599XX is already a track car, track only. It's not you can't drive it on the road. It's not road legal. And this, I guess, is the extreme version of that already extreme car. And what's the difference? So here we have the 599XX from the 711 collection. And the differences are mostly aerodynamics. So they got rid of the tiny vents on the side and added a proper wing on the back, a huge wing like that. And some other elements like a bigger diffuser. Also the exhausts have been moved to the front on the sides here, whereas they were on the back before. But other than that, it's more or less the same. The spoiler at the front also is bigger. Anyway, it's an awesome car, and no clear winner here because they are kind of different. But in terms of detail, you can't go wrong either way. That's a very, very cool car, and it will look really good on my display next to the 599 Gt2. And finally, if I can put it back on the display, there we go. And finally, probably the star of this release, the Fxxk. So previously, the only way to get the Fxxk in 1/64 scale was with the 711, and that's why I got the set to begin with, was to get this car in particular. But in the back of my mind, I always thought, hey, Kyosho is probably going to release their version at some point, sorry. And so they did. So I had the red and yellow version. I kept the yellow version. I don't know why. Oh, okay, so there's a tiny bit of problem here. We have some glue. We have to glue that back. It happens sometimes. Tiny bit of glue and there will be no problem. So here's the Fxxk from Kyosho. It's a mean car. It's based on the Laferrari. Like the 599XX, it's not track legal. It's a race car, and that you can use in special events organized by Ferrari. It's very expensive, and it's a very exclusive kind of club. And personally, I don't see the point of that kind of cars. I mean, if you can't own them, and if you can't, it's a lot. I guess you get some bragging rights or something. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure they're that good as race cars. But in terms of looks, it's just amazing. And how does it compare to the 711 version? The 711 version is pretty nice, no doubt about it. I was going to say that in terms of details, maybe it was lacking a little bit, especially the way it's assembled on the back, which was not an issue on the red version I got for this one or on the other wing, but then this one decided to break. So also I noticed some details on the front that are absent on the 711. The headlights seem to be a little bit more detailed, a little bit. But, and that's a big but, sorry, no pun intended, the engine bay is weird on the Kyosho one. It's like there's a piece missing. See? This is what they sell as the engine bay. I don't understand this. This doesn't look like an engine at all. This is the engine in the 711 version. Now this looks like a proper, what is it, a V12? This, I have no idea what that is. So it's weird. And some other details like here, you have the details here, this grille here, those tiny wings, I don't know what those are, that are absent or very smaller on the Kyosho version. So, I don't know. I love the Kyosho version. I think they're pretty cool and they're easier to get, at least for now, than the 711 version, at least at a nice price. But there's some stuff lacking, and I'm not quite sure why, because otherwise, if it wasn't for those tiny details, it would be a spectacular release. As it is, it's a very good release, no question about it, but could have been a tiny bit better. Am I complaining? Not really. I'm just being picky here. As you can see here, those cars look amazing with this. Maybe we could have had more new models, but for those like me who missed on the first releases, this is a perfect opportunity to complete the collection. So there you have it, the Ferrari 12 Minicar Collection from Kyosho compared to the 711, some of the 711 releases. Please comment and tell me which one is your favorite from this set. What do you prefer, the Kyosho or the 711? And we can have a conversation about that. Please subscribe and like. You can catch me also on Instagram at Italia Gt2. Thank you and see you again next time. Bye bye.